All right, we're here. God knows I don't want to be here for Bristol because, as everybody knows, this is statistically over all the years I've been playing. This is my worst track for before the next gen. However, Bristol is my worst track. So, this video and my approach on this one, at this point, I have to make adjustments in some form or fashion to how I approach Bristol. It's just Bristol. I am horrific at this track. So, with that said, let's go in and let's start talking about this track. And I want to go ahead and bring up some stuff here, which let's go ahead and get this streaming. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Obviously, we're doing this pretty early, but that's because the UFC slate starts, and I want to watch that later today. I was going to go to the UFC event in San Antonio today, but I had just other things come up, and it didn't make sense for my schedule. But guys, I've defeated isn't the word. It's like defeated, frustration. Um, this is actually I don't want to do 10 races. This is I love Bristol as a track. Like the races are always entertaining, right? Like it just always like that. But I just oh man, we talked about it in the other races this week. We talked about it in general through the years that you've been here and stuff. Um, let's just go ahead and look back at the last 5 races and get a feel for what has happened in these events. If you look through, we have basically guys who have just ran away with these races here. Obviously, we have Larson, and I'm only looking back the last 5 races here. Obviously, the first next gen, we have early next gen data, which at this point we can kind of remove. We obviously have that tire race, that like whatever, right? Um, when we're looking at, I really kind of want to focus more on the last 3 races as we saw in practice. Tire wear is going to be non-existent here, so let me go ahead and come here really fast. And thank you, AD, for always pulling data and stuff. I didn't bother pull. Okay, first off, actually, I woke up this morning. I'm doing all my jargon. I just opened up the wrong program over here. Doing all my jargon, and I'm setting up my data and everything. And I'm like, why is AJ on the poll, right? Why is Stenhouse in 11th? Why is Nemechek in 19th, right? Like, why did any of this happen, right? Um, so normally, I either pull my own data, or if I'm late or busy, I get it from I'm normally distributed and stuff. But like, this is Bristol, and I have just been so absolutely dog shit at this track. I didn't really see the need to even bother looking at practice data, because like I just need I look when same thing if you're working on cars, if you're setting up cars on the track or whatever, right? And you're well off where you need to be. Like your car is just terrible, right? Like, and you're like, This thing is terrible." You have to make wholesale changes. You can't make little micro adjustments here, and expect something to you have to just completely start over, right? And we don't. I mean, he has all this stuff here anyway. I mean, we can look at average ranking, but still, yet again, like based on the amount of laps these guys have ran, it's obviously going to lean heavily towards people who didn't run a lot. We understand that there's going to be little to no tire wear fall off and stuff. Like these tires are going to run forever, so it's just going to come down to when people pit and if we stay green. If we don't stay green, now we haven't really had Bristol huge crashes and in several races, right? Um, but just yet again being transparent and stuff, like I'm just not even gonna bother with this data. Like I'm Bristol's a weakness in my stuff, and I just don't want to even really worry about the practice and where these guys are at. I want to focus trying to nail on what the heck the race is going to do. Oh yeah, so let's look back at these last 3 races here, and I really want to focus on last 3 and stuff. When we look at the spring race earlier, obviously Kyle Larson ran away with the field. There's really not much more to say there outside of Alex Bowman blowing his motor and stuff. Pretty much grain to the end, like pretty much no crashes and stuff. Oh, thank you. I'm normally distributed. I appreciate it. What is it? I mean, nothing happened here, right? Nothing happened in this race. We look back at the night race the year before, and granted, we have one yellow, in the middle of stage two, and it's a two-car incident. We go 163 laps in, and green yet again. Larson runs away with it. So that's two races where we've just had somebody, obliterate the field, right? We go to the race before that, and this is kind of, more traditional, spread out and stuff. But you still look at the amount. Like, dude, there's only 5 idiots on the lead lap at the end of this race, right? We go 121 laps to the end. Like these races have been horrific for me. Okay, so as I look at my stuff, okay, and yet again, now this is one where I'm like, clearly, which we'll go ahead and do this really quick. If you want our data, both Sheets' and Goldie's stuff for all these sports that are played on DraftKings, if you want the PayDirt intuitive analytic tools that James has built, and you want access to SaberSim, I would highly advise you to get it through us. I mean, this is literally like maybe not. Don't quote me on the $2, right? But this is literally slightly more expensive than what SaberSim Ultimate is through SaberSim, and you get so much more through us, right? Okay, so I'm saying that because I'm going to show exactly what I'm looking at today in terms of my stuff, right? So like clearly, this is a race where like main projections are useless, right? And projections are useless in general for a race like this. 500 laps, everybody literally has a upside of potentially running away with a race, of leading, of anything, especially if we have green flag pit stops, which we probably won't in stage 3, but Lord knows if we do, we're going to have people run long and just shenanigans in that regard. So yes, while these are the projections that I've made for this race, it's whatever, it's Bristol, right? Right off the bat, I'm concerned, obviously, with Chase Briscoe and Kyle Busch being able to get through the field with how long we typically run early, which we could go ahead and look at here. So this is a run to the end here. This is a, basically run to the end here. And this is we had some more yellows a couple of years ago in the 2024 race. But I mean, there's real situations where these guys get trapped a lap down. We're seeing how many people are on the lead lap at the end of these races, right? So purposely chasing, a potential place differential from Briscoe and Kyle Busch are concerning. Because of that, if you're looking for people in the back of the field, Noah Gragson, Riley Herbst seem to look very similar to what these guys can potentially do in terms of, survival rate, especially if they all get trapped a lap down. So I'm very hesitant on playing a lot of guys down here. When we look at the top of the field, and I'm just giving AJ 14 laps, let 11 fast laps. If I do anything else, he's unplayable, right? Like if you projecting to dilly squat and then fall through the field, he's gonna look terrible, right? So I left him at 31. Blaney and or Cindric could be the beneficiaries of AJ performing poorly at the start of this race, right? And now, ideally, you would look at it like, or if you're making cases for people, you would see AJ Allmendinger, for whatever reason, only leads a couple laps, and then whoever is able to get around him first would inherit the lead. That's either that. Obviously, since Blaney's on the outside or starting second, you would argue that it could potentially be him or it could potentially be Cindric and stuff. So both these guys are very up in the air of what they're going to do early in the race. We've seen Ty Gibbs run away with this race before and then run into issues and stuff. And yet again, he's at a 6.6 value, but that's only because he's so cheap. I got him finishing 5th. And I mean, really, all these are pretty much in line. Like, these are pretty much identical projections for a lot of these guys, just to make sure they're in the conversation when I would go in and build lineups and stuff, right? All these guys could very easily score, piss poor at the end of this race, So yet again, I mean, maybe a mean projection is fine, but I don't think I don't have the advantage that I normally have by the way I do projections in a race like this, and I think that's been a pretty big shortcoming for me. Same thing with, potentially, Bell. I don't have him projected well. Same thing with Byron. There's realistically, both these individuals are probably going to be scoring like 41 points at the end of this race. Um, but it's Bristol, literally high variance and stuff like that. Um, so Blaney, Gibbs, Larson, Hamlin, Byron Bell are pretty much all identical plays. Cindric and AJ are similar plays because they're both, cheap and significantly cheaper than the rest of the field around them. By default, that probably makes Gibbs one of the best plays on the slate based on his pricing and his potential upside in a race like this. But this is just this is what I normally do, and the shortcoming has been Bristol. Like I've just always been missing here. Now, yet again, I always hand build as well, so maybe I have more biases on a race like this than normal. Um, but I'm really trying to figure out how I want to get around that, and so brainstorming what I how to do something is, hey, yet again, if things are not working right on a race like this, what is something I can do? Okay. And for Bristol specifically, I'm okay throwing out everything that normally works for me since I find no success at this track. So what does that mean? Probably no hand building. We look at the contest, right? And we see let's refresh and make sure that we are updated on these numbers here. We look at this contest, right? 10,000 people, high entry fee. I mean, not paying out drastically that bad. But, so let's do this because we never do live math on what is the total here we're looking at? I think it's going to show it here. 10,294. 10,294. So, what is 150 of 10,094, right? We're right at 1% of the contest if we were to 150. The fact that I seem to just piss money away at Bristol anyway. I can either go about this in two forms or fashion, and one is well, the first one is, hey, let me not play a lot, right? Makes my day a lot easier. I don't really care about what happens in the race, and so on and so forth. Like that's the first option, right? Now I've been doing that because I'm so bad at Bristol, and that's still whatever. That hasn't been very fun. Second one would be most NASCAR slates, you're not going to have 1% of the contest if you won 50. Now I did one. Now my first attempt, as stated, I'm in uncharted territory at this point. The only race I've ever won 50 to NASCAR was the Daytona race earlier this year. I finished third, and then obviously had a ton of lines cashed and stuff. But that's plate racing. I had already decided I'm going to 150 the Talladega race and stuff. But yet again, personally, for all the asterisks and shortcomings that I've had here at Bristol, swinging the pendulum in any direction other than where I'm at right now. I think 150 maxing could potentially at least make this stream somewhat interesting. So let's go ahead and do this, right? And so this stream is going to be more so how I would go about this. Now, yet again, I have a lot of issues with what SaberSim how they run stuff and stuff for NASCAR. But as I said, my approach for this has not been good at all. It has been literally horrendous, right? So I don't know. I want to try something different, right? So I might as well attempt to try and circumvent any shortcomings that I have. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff here. Yet again, I don't like what SaberSim potentially does with their back end stuff for NASCAR, but with just like I said, of the unknown stuff for this race, I think it's worth just fucking swinging a bat and seeing what happens, right? Like, so I always manually just re-enter my stuff to make sure everything is here. Not that it's not. Ian, I already have. Why actually? Uh, Wait a minute. It's because I haven't refreshed this one. Hold on. This is the one I had up earlier. My stuff should already be in the SaberSim stuff. Let me make sure here. Because yeah, it was updated at 8:50, like an hour ago. Which I think it's just because I had that one up for my UFC stuff that I was doing. It hasn't updated yet. I always got to check this when you have a website of like, why is stuff not loaded up here? Why is stuff not loaded up here? Why? Oh God. Okay, hold on. Why are my numbers not in SaberSim right now? This was updated earlier. They're on the site. Why have they not been pulled into SaberSim? We've been having some, not exactly API trouble, but just for whatever reason, we've had some of our stuff not. This is the update 1 hour ago. Slate ID is correct. I will look into this after the thing, after the stream, because I don't know why it's not automatically uploading that stuff here. Because some people for whatever reason still use their mobile phones to build lineups, which I just don't understand. Whatever. So let's get my stuff in there. Obviously, best we got is SaberSim's ownership. I don't believe Sheets is here for. Actually, what's gonna be funny is if this is the one time I didn't have audio going through, and I haven't checked the stream in minutes. So please, please, God, tell me that. Okay, cool. Yeah, audio was going through. That's good. So now shortcomings that I know will pop up in my stuff since I do this all the time, right? Now it might not happen because I have so many people close to one another, but usually by the way I do lineups and stuff, it'll fit in. Like if I have a pool of 5,000 lineups, it'll usually throw in my highest projected guy like in the 90% of them, right? So I'm gonna have to manually go in and get my portfolio closer to where I want it to be, and stuff and everything like that. So we're gonna actually probably rerun this a couple times and stuff. But yeah, like any picks or any real opinions on Bristol, I just don't think my stuff is, or my opinion is literally worth anything just because Bristol is my horse track. What's going on? X to the power of X. Hopefully, yeah. Let's get it, Dave. What's going on, BVP? BVB. We're both on good runs, man. So let's see what happens here. Thoughts on the ones in 22. I don't like Chastain right off the bat. And I would be, I mean, I don't, I got Chastain for 30 and I got Logano for 38. That's where my thoughts starting. And now what I want to do here is yet again, I want to see, I'm going to run the same. Like I said, my approach this has just been, it's my worst track. So I honestly don't even care if I'm doing stuff that I don't normally do. I just want to see if I can get a different outcome today. But what I want to see here is what happens when I run this, where the exposure rates fall, and then probably or I want to go through and see what my stuff is one to look at first. So we can actually, if we want to, well, I guess I could sort it by, let me see what's going on here. Okay, whatever. I was gonna look at the highest projected lineups, but I guess they don't really matter actually if I'm gonna be spreading it out this way. So let's see where my stuff kind of starts out, where my things are at here. So It's going Blaney, Gibbs, Larson, AJ Allmendinger. So I'm drastically over. Maybe not. Is he good at that? Like, see, I personally want. I can tell you right now, I am comfortable with no more than 12% AJ Allmendinger. If the field is going to play him at 55, by all means, knock yourselves out. Right. I don't like that I have 47%. That'll change. Right. But I'm looking through with where we're at here, and and yet again, plate racing and well, not plate racing, Bristol, Martinsville, Richmond, the guys in this range are much more valuable to potentially trying to nail in all your lap leaders. Typically, if I hand build, I'm usually punting down here and trying to nail as many lap leaders as possible. Okay, now that's ran into a lot of issues of just like I know I played Bowman when he blew up, like whatever. And yet again, this is just because I know what I want in NASCAR and then what I'm comfortable with and stuff. And so, like, I don't really like this top heavy stuff here. I'm playing 150 lines. I don't need 101 of Blaney, right? I don't. I'm trying to circumvent, you know, any shortcomings I've had. I don't really want to have 63% of somebody here, even if the field's going to have them at 62 or whatever. I don't necessarily want that. And I probably want more of these guys down here. And yet again, they're being brought down by the projection and stuff. Since I'm already doing this, I am going to be concerned with duplications just slightly. I will, I mean, I guess we can do that live here anyway. It doesn't really matter. So what I do, uh, specifically for UFC and stuff and like tennis and things like that, I'll run stuff like this, and then I will just go ahead and manually start looking at things of kind of where I'd want them at, and I just want to see what changes exactly um, between here. What bumps up if I go down here, um, and everything. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and apply that. Yet again, we've already ran the Sims. It's gonna do its own thing here, but I then want to manually go in and see what happens here. So once I start moving stuff down, the closer probably where I'd want them in line. Still get straight 50 here. Still a huge amount of AJ, which very, very interesting here. I also want to see at this point where stuff we're at down here, who's not being used. So no Stenhouse, no Hocevar. That's fine. That's probably where I'd be at. I would also go in and start being very aggressive if this was the final run. Where I'm just gonna actually do what I would do normally. So I see where kind of my stuff runs at. I'm gonna see where SaberSim runs their stuff at here. On SaberSim stuff to try and get an idea. Yet again, we're trying to get an idea of what the field is going to do, where people are going to go, and stuff like that. I see that you're mentioning how confident Larson is, and by default, he's been the best guy at this track 2 of the last 3 races, and not only best, I mean, he has obliterated the field. But I want to go ahead and get this, see what SaberSim is doing, because I can't imagine, yet again, why am I choosing to go about it in this way today? One, obviously, Bristol's my history, whatever. 2, very expensive contest to play today. A lot of people, and this was before everything happened. I am generally a fan of higher entry main GPPs, because it just makes the field softer. Typically, if you don't have a huge bankroll and you throw in 3 darts or whatever, more than likely you're not going to win and you're throwing money away in those contests. So I actually really like that this is a $20 contest today. Okay, so their shit wants a ton of AJ, which tout my opinion. I think AJ, as I said, I don't want anything more than 15 to 12. I think he's a terrible play today. There is no way in this green earth that God created that I want to play AJ Allmendinger today. And if I was playing any way normal, I would be Xing AJ out. And if he beats me, he beats me, right? But seeing where else people are going here, or where else Saberson was going here. So obviously they're playing Hocevar, which I don't like. A lot less Gibbs than me. You know, I'm being aware of just right off the bat to where my stuff is different than the fields potentially might be and stuff, right? Playing everybody here. Interesting. So let's go ahead and go back to mine. I want to look at where stuff is. Oops. I want to look back to where stuff is at. Okay. All right. So now we're getting closer to the real one I want to run here. So I'm going to go ahead and run my numbers here. I'm going to go ahead and go down and purposely not use full salary today. I'm also going to go in and manually before, now, yet again, depending on what your prerogative is and how aggressive you want to be with stuff. Sometimes you want to run things before, make adjustments after, do things before, do things after. I just know I want very little, Hocevar, Age Almanair and stuff. So I'm going to go in and manually adjust their stuff here. So, fuck, man. What do I want them at? I'm even gonna lower. I'll give them max exposure 12 for AJ today. Same thing with Cindric, right? Yet again, could be destroying my lineups and this slate before it even starts. But I just have no real want or desire to have any of these idiots. I want to be very, very low on a lot of these guys here. We go down. Probably don't want any. Where are we at? Here was Chad. Don't want any Chad. And then I don't remember. I'm going to open up my new tab, go back to build one really fast. I want to see the exposure rates of these guys in the bottom here. So cup at build one. Okay, so I had 2% Corey Heim. So I want him in between those two. Obviously, Ty Dillon at 48 seems to be really awesome. Ownership's coming in at 11. I had 8. Probably want 10 of Ty. Probably no greater than 11. I'm fine with being with the field there. Goins 54. 5. Happy with 10 there. Don't give a shit about Suarez. Cody Ware. He's at 47. Probably in the 4 to 8 range here. So I just want to make sure I'm getting a lot of these guys because this will correlate with, paying up for a lot of these expensive dudes. Got Cindric and AJ where I want. I'm going to naturally probably get to Byron and them based on the projections I have. I want no Stenhouse. I want no Stenhouse at all. What did Nemechek coming on my first run once I started digging with stuff? 3%. So yet again, this situation where if I run a lot of stuff and I see somebody just not in my things, I don't really see the reason of playing 2% of like John Henry Nemechek at all. Like you either probably want to get more than that or just remove them. I just typically remove somebody from the pool, regardless of what sport I'm even playing. If I have a lot of lineups and I have you in 1%, like I don't give a shit about having you like an entry or whatever, right? Everybody else I'm pretty okay with. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. Yet again, different than my normal shows. I really don't have just any of you, I think, or any view or opinion that's really worth any salt for this race here. So we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing this differently. And I'm not gonna look on these. I'm not gonna look at these lineups on stream because obviously I'm doing my stuff to purposely try and get lineups, and I want to go in and manually at least give the okay to a vast majority of them to make sure I'm not playing anything entirely stupid. Um, but we'll look at the exposure rates here of what my stuff is showing once this is done, and once everything runs. So let's see what happens here. Yes, I would not play Briscoe if I was playing single entry here. I talked about Gregson, Kyle Busch, Briscoe, all those guys in the beginning. Okay, so let's move those to the side. See what's happening here. So we have a shitload of Ty Gibbs and an absolute ass load of these guys here, which we don't want. Okay, we're happy to be over the field with, but we don't want that. So it's in half the pool, 80% of the top ones. So we don't need it that high. Okay, what does that give us in exposure here? All right, so 52 Hamlin, 51 Larson. Don't want Hamlin that high. And this is I'm usually not this aggressive on stuff, but this is just how I use this stuff. Well, you might be asking why am I using 52%? Why am I using 42? Why am I no real justification behind that other than Asperger's that could be weaponized. Let's see. So Larson, Hamlin, Bowman, I'm fine with that. I might lower him slightly. I don't see. I also don't really want that much of Byron. I want him closer to Bell since he has a very high chance of actually not doing anything in this race. Bottom of the still got the mandatory 2-5-5-4. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. All right, 51, 57, 33. I'm more okay with this. Okay, cool. So we're at this one. So let's go ahead and rebuild the lines with now that we've kind of seen what stuff is being built and used with. I typically rebuild to have a brand new pool with closer stuff indicating of kind of where I want it. So I'm not necessarily having to pull from a pool that I have of lineups that fit that. I'd rather have lineups that are built to fit that exposure that I'm kind of looking at, so I can have ideally more optimized lineups with those exposures. Yet again, only second time doing this for NASCAR. Very, very, I have no confidence in this doing anything today, but I figured I'd go live and we can yap about it and yip yap and all that crap. Let's go ahead and run that. See right here. I do have a new place, Stanley. I am a homeowner, and I mean I work. I play DFS full time. I only have Tuesday and Wednesday off. Pretty much those are my only 2 free days, right? Um, my partner's moved in fully into the house. We got super. I will say, like, my first like actual purchase following this was like one of those really really nice beds with the movable frame, super expensive mattress. Like that was like what I've always wanted, and that was basically a gift to them and stuff. But they're moved in um, and everything. But it's really hard for me to, especially during the NFL season, especially during September and stuff. It's really hard for me to actually get my stuff moved. So I spend my days here if I'm working, and then I just go to the house and stuff. And I'm like 30 minutes away from the house, right? Um, so I probably won't be moved in until either next month um, and stuff. I still have a lease on this place until January, but at this point, it's gonna be fucked out. I'm gonna just pay to break the lease at some point. But I gotta find a time to move. And September, I don't have a free day to move all my shit. Um, but yeah. Okay, so let's see where are we at here now that I've done all this stuff. So I got these guys where I want them. Hamlin, that's fine. Gibbs, still overweight, but my stuff likes him. Typically, I'm okay with being overweight on such a big discrepancy between what the field is potentially going to do. Because yet again, I'm not using necessarily this, but I'm using what we built on build number 2 to get an idea. My stuff likes Ty Gibbs. I'm going to trust my stuff on that. I'm fine with being well overweight on that. Seeing where else we're at here. Like, my stuff likes Cole Custer too. I don't know if I necessarily want to end up there. I'm fine with being 28 on these idiots here. I think I'm gonna be pretty hands off after this. I wish I had more Ty Dillon. Who's this guy down here? It's Cody Ware. Who the fuck's this guy down here? Hocevar? So I have my camera right in front, so I can't see that. So let's just not use Hocevar. And see if we can get this stuff lined up more. And make sure I got the people removed that I don't want, so I got none of them. Okay, so now that we're here, fun story, right? So actually, no, I'll just save that for another time. Actually, we don't need to be telling stories right now. Yeah, I think this is where I'm gonna come in at today. Let me. I like Cole Custer today, right? If I was doing my normal 20, I'd have him probably in 5, right? 5 to 6, 25 to 30%. I don't necessarily need 42 of my 150 with Cole Custer. So I think I will adjust him down slightly. And again, we'll do this again. Let's see. I feel like a 3 dominator. Yeah, no, three dominators is absolutely the way to go. You need 3 dominators in each race. My stuff will, I already know. I don't need to check, just knowing by the exposure rate. I mean, obviously I'm going to check before. I just don't want to show if these are the lines I end up running. I don't want people to have them. No offense. But I already know by the exposure rates and how I've been doing stuff long enough that most of my lineups, I don't have to make rules. Okay. Yet again, I typically use SaberSim for NASCAR to see just where my stuff lines up. I never make rules on SaberSim for any sport or anything. I think some people have found a lot of success on that. I just don't need that done. And seeing the exposure rates that I have, I already know I have 2 to 3 lap leaders on a majority, if not more. Especially when I look at people like Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, people like that. Like I would very much label those guys as people that I would expect to lead laps today, knowing that I have a high amount of those guys. I already know I have a majority of these lineups that are having quite a lot of lap leaders in here. So we'll go ahead and let those guys finish here. So yet again, so like Larson, Blaney, Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, Bowman, Elliott, Byron. The fact that these guys are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're my 7 highest owned guys, which usually that's what my stuff looks like anyway. Very high likelihood I have 2 to 3 of these guys in each lineup. So I don't really need to make a rule about that, right? Still same with Ty Dillon, still same with Cody Ware. I might mainly go in and build some Cody Ware lines after this if I find lines I don't like. But for the most part, I'm fine. What was the guy I was looking at? Cole Custer. Did I fix him? Cole Custer's at 17. Fine with that. I'm perfectly happy with that. So that's where I'm at here. Answering your question with Elliott, I mean he's in the same boat as Bowman. I would not. The only people I would consider a leader in this race would be Blaney, Gibbs, Larson, Hamlin, Byron, and Bell. If we're looking at guys who, if you want to expand that, AJ, Cindric, Reddick, Bowman, maybe Elliott in that sense, but at that point I already named like 12 drivers. I would not consider him as a true dominator there. You can see that I'm very much heavy on the top half of the field. Okay. Very low on Bush. Where's Briscoe at here? Very low on Briscoe. Which I'd be taking those stances anyway. So you know what, I'm pretty satisfied with this exposure stuff. I'm pretty happy. Yet again, I like hand building for NASCAR. Okay, I found a lot of success doing that. Last 3 years, I've taken down at least one NASCAR contest solo. This is the 1 year I haven't done that yet. 2, we're on my worst track. 3, these are reasons why I'm like, well, let me yet again, if you're playing DFS and like I'm very happy with my process for a lot of things. I know for a fact my process is not doing me any good here. It is not. There's no reason to continue the cycle of throwing money away for years at Bristol. That's why I'm doing something drastically different from what I normally do, because that's better than just doing the same thing over and over again. Actually, that's just called insanity. And I'm a lot of things, but I'm not insane. So this is how I would go about doing this. So I'm gonna enter these 150 in the slate today. X to the power of X over here. I'm fading the guy starting 30th on back there. I fully agree. Bristol, even with my stuff, I think Bristol is the most difficult race to build DFS lineups for. I think this is the toughest race and especially the playoff one. The Bristol night race with playoffs involved, a lot of different agendas for 16 drivers. I think this is the most difficult slate to build lineups for, year in year out. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I will see you guys later. And yeah, I will just thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and talk to you guys later. Bye bye. See ya.